Hi, my name is Alec, from Kid to Kid, Practical Guide to Moving Around the World, Part 5. In Part 4, I'll walk you through the most challenging stage of the relocation, just after your arrival. But this video will focus on the phase of the identity crisis. Like in previous videos, this one will still be using my international moving experiences as reference. But that doesn't mean that those people moving within the same country should not be able to relate to their own experiences. It goes without saying that each case is unique and that each person will respond to situations differently. However, let's suppose that you've coped well with the chaos phase, the last one, and that you think that I might have exaggerated in some of my points. If this is the case, congratulations, you're one step ahead. Still, having adapted faster or slower, you'll not be able to evade the question of identity at some point. The identity issue is not as obvious as it seems, keeping in mind that this is the same question that every third culture kid despises. Where do you come from? We TCKs will usually answer according to our mood, mostly in very few words, but sometimes we might fire back. You mean where I was born, where I've already lived, or where I'm living right now? Or do you want to know about my family history, my nationalities? Yes, in plural. Maybe you just want to know how I see myself. As for me, if I'm not in the mood of carrying on a conversation, I'll just say that I come from the place where I happen to be living at the time. As for the other issue that TCKs also dislike, where's home? I strongly suggest that you see it as the place where your parents are. You might ask, what if my parents are divorced? What if I'm a refugee? Or what if I'm an orphan? Well, I'm afraid that I can't answer that one. You'll have to figure it out by yourself. The problem with this kind of questions is that kids who move around the world and come from a multicultural family background cannot simply be stamped for being just one thing, because there are so many layers of identity. No two people could possibly be the same. As for me, I think that I belong everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Depending on the situation, I might feel like I'm just as American as anyone else here in Atlanta. But deep inside, I'll always note that I'll always be different, a fusion of cultures. But why should I worry about it? And why should you? My advice to you is, be proud of your history and of your family's heritage, but still act right. Learn the meaning and the impact of the word balance, because if you don't, you'll hurt people along the way. You need to find a balance between who you are with your family and who you are with the rest of the world. Acting like a chameleon and being able to adapt to different settings is probably the smartest thing that you can do. I like the meaning behind the word diversity, as it implies a peaceful environment. But truth be told, the ones who arrive are those who need to adapt, not those who are already there. The idea that everybody would accept people dressed in exotic ways in day-to-day life is exciting, but not realistic. If you try to adapt, people will respect you for your efforts. And like I said in the previous video, if you eat Korean kimchi every day, you don't have to bring it to school, unless it's called for. Instead, you can introduce kimchi to your nearest friends when the time is right. You'll not be hiding your heritage, but just waiting for the right moment to introduce it to your new peers. Don't scare them off just yet. Be a chameleon and transform when necessary. To become a skillful chameleon, you'll need to know who you really are, not the stamps people put on you. Otherwise, you might become confused about your own identity. Ask yourself simple questions like, what makes you really happy? What makes you sad or angry? What do you fear the most? Who's your idol? What is your favorite dish? And so on. Knowing who you are will set up barriers for things that are totally unacceptable for you. You're willing to adapt in many ways, but you're not willing to sell your soul. That's different, and there's a fine line separating the two. Another skill, typical of a chameleon, is to note that you can't just use the same tone and say the same words to everybody equally. You need to adjust them. You'll still be who you are and say and do whatever you want to. But if you act according to the environment around you, your chances of success will increase because communication will be carried out on the same level. The aim of these videos is to make you adapt quickly to your new location, and an adaptation means combining what's already there with something new. If you resist the new experiences, you'll never have the chance of adjusting properly. But if you reject your old life and only accept the new one, you'll be erasing part of who you are. This adaptation approach shouldn't be radical, but it should look like a fusion of cultures. Being able to balance your loyalties will not only enrich your life, but it will also stop you from screwing up real chances by not hurting people around you. Now, if you want to brag about the languages you speak, the places you've been to, and the things you've learned along the way, it's really up to you. But if you prefer to keep a low profile, it's also fine, as long as you don't hide behind a false mediocrity when times call for special skills and certain life experiences that people like you and me have. In the next video, I'll be wrapping up the project with some promising directions for the future of kids who move around the world. No more phases, but a privileged life journey.